Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Couture Counter. So this is episode 1, and I figured it'd be best to introduce myself here first and foremost. I will remain anonymous just because I feel like for certain things regarding my future, I think that this would be best, and that way I can give a very honest, objective opinion without any interference from outside sources, as you might say. I am a fashion design student, though. I'm in my 20s, and I'm currently about to start my senior year of design school next week, so I'm very excited for that. And I wanted to make this podcast series, first of all, because everyone's doing podcasts. Why not do one? But also because I feel like that there is a certain section of fashion and pop culture that really seem to intersect that not a lot of people talk about or really give their viewpoints on. I feel like when people talk about popular culture in general, they stick to that sort of thing. They stay to that side of things. And when people do talk about fashion, pop culture seems to be lower level. They're a little too snooty to address certain things. But I think when we look at both of these industries, when we look at multiple industries, a lot of things are starting to melt into one another. And as someone who's very into fashion and also very into pop culture, I think that there's a lot of things that could be talked about. And I think that this first episode is going to be a very interesting one because there are a lot of topics where you guys will definitely see what I'm hinting at here. And so I think the first things first that I want to talk about is this whole Nicki Minaj, Cardi B, fight. People are labeling it a fight. It really wasn't a fight, but I'll break that down. But I wanted to talk about that and also a little bit about the Met Gala, which happened way earlier this year, the first Monday in May. But since the Met Gala has gotten a bit more popularized thanks to, social media, everyone's a fashion critic now. They've started allowing many more stars that aren't into fashion onto the carpet. Nicki Minaj announced her album name there. 2 Chainz proposed to his wife on the carpet, and things like this. And really what I want to talk about is, what do we think that it's a good idea to bring pop culture into fashion? You know what I mean? And like I just mentioned, a lot of people who are in fashion, who are in the industry, interested in the industry, they don't really like to talk about pop culture. They don't really like to talk about musicians or actors or anybody that's not really related into the industry because they feel like they have no value to this industry. But a lot of higher ups in this industry have recognized that these people bring in dollars. They bring in viewership. I mean, Anna Wintour is still putting the Met Gala together, and she invited, the Migos and Lil Yachty. I mean, that says something. I think we're all well aware of the impact that music specifically, but a lot of pop culture has on the fashion industry. And so to center this conversation a bit more, let's get into this Harper's Bazaar Icons Party. So for those of you who may not know, Harper's Bazaar is a very prominent fashion magazine. They're right up there next to Vogue. Some people obviously put Vogue first, others maybe Harper's, depends on who you're talking to. But they have a lot of pull and weight in the industry. So going to their party is a very, very big deal, and this is also New York Fashion Week. Again, for anyone who may not be privy to this, Fashion Week is where top designers, new, old, they show their collections for what they think is going to be worn and what they're hoping people will buy into for the next season. So it's New York Fashion Week. People are showing their spring collections because it's fall. They want to have the trends be 6 months ahead so that by the time things are being shipped out, everyone has their pieces for the springtime. Okay, so Nicki Minaj has also, actually, let me say this because I don't want to come off as biased or anything. I am a huge Nicki Minaj fan. I want to be very honest about that. I love her music. I don't think she can dress very well. That's my personal opinion. Every now and then she has clothing items that I think look really great, but usually something's always a little off. And I think Nicki Minaj and Kim Kardashian kind of have this same idea that because they're very curvy women, because they have, breasts and, a lot going on, that they can't wear things that are more outlandish, which I hate, you know what I mean? But that's kind of another topic. And as far as Cardi B, I used to be a really big Cardi B fan. Now, I never followed her on Instagram. I always thought that her videos were a bit annoying. She was a bit loud. which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I just never really found her as funny as many people do find her. But I was really into her music. And I remember when she was on Love and Hip Hop and she was saying, I want to be a rapper, and I started listening to her music, a lot of people were like, are you taking her seriously? You know what I mean? This is obviously for a storyline. And I would tell people, I don't care if she's serious. I don't care if it's for a storyline. The music bumps to me. And then she put out a second mixtape, eventually got signed, Bodak Yellow dropped, and we all know the rest of the story. So since Cardi B has really gotten a big mainstream push, now that everyone, moms, kids, families, grandmas listen to her, I have fallen back a bit on Cardi because, and I think that this happens to a lot of us, and whether you're into music, whether you're into, directors or writers or whoever, when people start to get a mainstream push, their art does become different. And a lot of times as well, their personalities become different. And, a lot of people would say that about Nicki Minaj. I've rocked with her since 2009, before like Itty Bitty Piggy was really a thing, since I was in middle school, And I don't know, I've always liked her music. I think her music grew as I grew. Whereas the other hand with Cardi, I think it's so obvious to me personally, this mainstream big agenda push to really get her out there, make her more relatable. She's very, very packaged. And while she is rough around the edges, there's certain things that just come off to me as being very manufactured. And I don't really love that. I still listen to her music. I thought the album was very, very, very good, all things considered. I think she's doing really well for herself, and I'm very happy for her. More than anything, I don't want Cardi to fail. I think that, especially coming from where she's come and all of the things that she's done, it really is a Cinderella story. And I think it's so great for her that she's been given so many opportunities. And that really leads into what I want to talk about now. So, like I said, I am a Nicki Minaj fan. I'm not going to hide it. And I do follow a few Nicki fan pages. Now, I'm not like hardcore super into everything that she does, but I pay attention. I know what's coming up for her and what she has going on, but I'm also very objective. Perfect example, I think her performances lately have been absolutely terrible. I think she's been looking a mess a lot lately. I thought the album was great. I'm not really a fan of how much she's been talking. While I love Queen Radio, I think that she has been saying a little bit too much and hinting at a little too many things. I kind of do want her to take, as many of you would say, the Beyonce approach and just be quiet and release. But anyways, like I said, I follow a few fan pages, and if you guys don't know, just to give you guys a bit of backstory on what essentially exploded at this party, there had been a push from Atlantic to sign another female rapper to go against Nicki Minaj. Lady Leisha, who is a female MC from Europe, I believe London, but I don't want to be wrong. And then also Cupcake, who is another female MC. I forget which state she's from, but she's from the States. Both said that Atlantic offered them massive amounts of money, and the only catch, I guess, to the contract was that they had to go up against Nicki Minaj. And Nicki Minaj, this came out, I want to say maybe 2 years ago. And Nicki Minaj thanked them, and she was like, you guys are real ones for being very honest about this, and I appreciate you. And Nicki has talked about for quite some time, actually, that there has been a push to really get her out of the industry and to introduce new prospects. And I will say that, a lot of people may think that this whole Cardi against Nicki thing is new, but when Iggy Azalea was out, they were comparing her to Nicki. I remember when Young M.A came out, they said Young M.A is going to end Nicki. Even with Remy Ma deciding to put out a diss, they felt like, Remy Ma was eventually going to be next up. There has always been this agenda to really get Nicki out of the paint, and it's not really working too well. Now, what I will say is that her public perception is way off. While she does have a very strong hardcore fan base, many people don't really love her attitude, which therein turns into, I'm not going to listen to her music, I'm not going to support her if I can, and eventually it turns into hate, which is where we get this whole hate train thing, And so the reason I'm explaining all of this is because the female MC that did eventually end up signing to Atlantic was Cardi B. And so the thing is with Cardi, if you know Cardi, if you're a fan of Cardi, if you know anything about her, she's about her bag, she's about her money. Cardi B is in the business of making money. She doesn't care what it is. She doesn't care what it, involves. If she can make some money, she's going to do it. A lot of people have referenced her career as a stripper as that. Cardi B, from my understanding, if you ask many other people, she didn't really have to strip. She didn't have a great home life, but it wasn't the worst. She started stripping, I think, before she was 21. She got a boob job, I think, at 19. You know what I mean? She was in the business of making quick, fast money since a young age. That was her MO. And so she signed to Atlantic, and many Nicki fans believe that in the fine print, Go Against Nicki was there. And now, for those of you who don't know, some of you may know, motorsport was kind of the big thing that we first heard. What happened was Nicki had kind of said something about Cardi, alluded to her in her verse. If you replace Quavo's name with Cardi's name in the motorsport song, that's essentially what Nicki said. And Cardi B took it as a diss. Now, some people believe that maybe somebody's in Cardi's ear telling her, oh, Nicki Minaj is dissing you. Some people are saying, that could have been a big up, saying that, you're running shit right now. But either way, it's very obvious that there is a lot of things going on behind the scenes that we don't fully know about. Now, like I said, I'm an objective Nicki fan. Nicki is not completely innocent in this. I think Nicki Minaj has been throwing jabs. I think Nicki Minaj has been pulling strings, but Cardi has been doing it as well. Cardi is the biggest female MC right now. Her and Nicki, I would say, are on a similar level, but in terms of popularity, in terms of people loving her, in terms of general support, Cardi's the biggest. Everyone loves Cardi B, and this situation really does expose that. And so, let me get to it. Essentially, like I said, Harper's Bazaar Icons Party, everyone is there. Even if you look up the hashtag, you'll probably see a few people you even follow on Instagram that are there. A lot of YouTubers were there. I saw Jackie Aina tweet about it. One of my favorite male models, Matthew Noska, was there. Everybody was there. Everyone. And essentially what happened was that Cardi walked up to Nicki Minaj, quote unquote, aggressively, according to, TMZ. And she lunged at her, and security blocked her. And when I first heard this story, I couldn't quite believe it. I was like, this has to be fake, right? Not only is it Nicki Minaj and Cardi B, you guys are physically fighting, but you're at Fashion Week. You're at a Harper's Bazaar party. Are you serious? You know what I mean? And then they said that Cardi threw her shoes, security was holding Nicki back, all this stuff. And when you finally see the videos, you can see Cardi, she's being held back by at least 2 or 3 security guards. I mean, she's trying to fight to get to Nicki. And Nicki looks as if she's standing up against a wall. Not necessarily like she's back into a corner, but there is a huge wall of security around Nicki Minaj. Nicki Minaj is only about 5'2", so you can barely even see her. You can see maybe the top of her hair, but in the video, you can't make out a face or anything. I mean, and these security guards are huge. There was no way Cardi was going to get a lick in otherwise. It just wasn't going to happen. And, you see videos from different angles of Cardi taking off her shoe and all of this. And eventually, Cardi and her publicist, who was the other woman, being very loud and angry with Cardi in the video, they get escorted out of the party eventually. And Cardi leaves with this big knot on her head. Now, there are people saying that she got elbowed by security. There's some videos suggesting that maybe Nicki Minaj did get a punch in. To me, those photos look doctored. There's some small photos of Nicki Minaj with scrapes on her hand. And they say, oh my gosh, do you hear the loud slap? I think that things are being orchestrated right now. Both of them are trying to tell their own sides to it. And I'll get to that in a minute. But what I want to talk about, and I feel like I don't want to sound biased, but I can't blame anybody but Cardi. I cannot believe that anyone is trying to physically fight at New York Fashion Week at a Harper's Bazaar party. To me, it's ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I think that, and I do want to touch on this because there are some people saying Cardi is ghetto, Cardi is ratchet, and some people are saying, that's very anti-black, and, you guys are afraid of what white people think. in my opinion, as a young Black woman, I don't care what anybody thinks. What I do care, though, that this is a formal event and it's work. You know, you two are the biggest female rap stars on the planet. You're at a New York Fashion Week party. And like I said, everyone is there. Everyone. This is a chance for you to network. This is a chance for you to get your foot in the door. This is a chance for people to see you as someone to be seriously interested in, to do business with. And, you know, one thing Nicki Minaj has said that I think that she really has done, and you have to give her props for, Nicki Minaj has made female rap marketable again. And now, whether you think Nicki Minaj's deals are lowbrow, highbrow, whatever, you know, she's had a clothing deal with Kmart. She's had some perfume deals. She modeled for, I think, a Roberto Cavalli campaign in like 2013, I believe. You know, Nicki Minaj has been able to say, you know, I do rap and I am a woman, but people want to buy into what I have. And the unfortunate thing is that Cardi has now, I think, in my opinion, tarnished what that means. There are so many more female rappers coming up today. You know what I mean? Sweetie is killing it. I think Cupcake doesn't get the recognition she deserves, but she's doing fairly well. Cash Doll is very popular. A lot of people really like Asian Doll. I mean, I could go on and on and on. There's so many that are really out here doing it. And what we don't want to happen is for the well of female rappers to dry up because one person ruins it for the bunch. And like I said, I don't think it has to do with Black, white, or otherwise. I personally don't consider Cardi B Black. I've never heard her out of her mouth say she's Black. You know, a lot of people use the excuse that because she's Dominican and Trinidadian that she's Black. Those are ethnicities. That is not race. Race is Black, white. Some people say Asian. But everything else is ethnicity. I have never heard Cardi B claim to be Black. Now, if she has, then okay. But again, I don't think it's Black, white, or anything other. What I do think, though, is that, again, fashion is very aware that music, rappers in general, rap is the number one most listened to genre of music in the United States. It surpassed rock, I believe, a year or two ago. And that is major. The top 10, when you look at Billboard, when you look at the iTunes charts, when you look at Spotify, any of your music platforms, 90% of it is rap music. Fashion is finally acknowledging that these rappers are moving weight. They're acknowledging that these rappers have influence. And for you as a rapper, Black, white, male, female, I don't care, for you to go to a Harper's Bazaar party and try to physically assault or fight anyone. I don't care if Nicki Minaj was a rapper. I don't care if she was a CEO. I don't care if she was an assistant. For you to try to do that not only ruins your image, but the image of those coming after you. And that is essentially what my problem is with Cardi B. I feel like Cardi B doesn't think in the long run. I think Cardi B is very hot-headed, and I think that she lets too many things bother her. So now let's get into the why. Why did this happen? Why did she attack Nicki Minaj? Now, she said, or her team, I should say, the narrative that's being spun right now is that Nicki Minaj liked a tweet about her daughter. Now, I've seen the tweet. I know exactly what she's talking about. When Kodak Black, who's another rapper, was freed from jail when he came home, Cardi B kind of welcomed him back home. Nicki Minaj liked a tweet saying, you know, Cardi is setting a bad example for her daughter. Can't believe she would say this. And what many people don't seem to fully grasp, but I can grasp because I'm a Nicki Minaj fan, is that for months, people have been very hypocritical about the way they choose the narrative for certain people and about the way they choose the narrative for Nicki Minaj. And when Nicki Minaj specifically released a song with Tekashi 6ix9ine, who has been convicted, I believe, or suspected, you know, it's a little foggy with the details there, at least for me, from what I've tried to gather. But essentially, he was accused of having sex with a minor, which makes him a pedophile, right? And so she liked that tweet. The fan even tweeted that tweet because it was supposed to be pointing out the hypocrisy. I don't think anyone really cares that Cardi welcomed Kodak home. I don't think that Nicki cares. I don't think her fans care. But the point is, here we have someone who you guys, as in the general public, have adjacent to Nicki Minaj doing something very similar. Nicki Minaj now made a song, right, with Tekashi. But Cardi B welcomed Kodak home as well as remixing his song, which has been her biggest hit. But no one has a problem with that. You know what I mean? Kodak Black was in jail for rape charges. But no one's saying anything about that. And so Nicki Minaj liked that tweet, not out of spite, in my opinion. I mean, I haven't spoken to her or anything, obviously. But in my opinion, she liked that tweet not out of spite, not to be rude, but to point out the hypocrisy. It was a sarcastic tweet. The point is that the rules seem to always be different for Cardi, whereas for Nicki Minaj, they always find the negative narrative. And so this is what had Cardi supposedly in an uproar. You know what I mean? She's like, why are you liking tweets about my daughter? Like a tweet about my daughter again, play with me again, etc., etc. And security had to try to stop her multiple times. I mean, she lunged at Nicki about 2 or 3 times before she was eventually just escorted out of the party. And like I said, she did have a knot on her forehead. Who really knows what that's from? And we haven't seen her since. You know what I mean? And the worst part about that is now I had an argument with my boyfriend, who is also a fashion major. He's not a design major, he's a marketing major. And so his perspective is always a bit different from mine. I think being that he's a man, but also being that he's on the business side of things, whereas I'm more so on the creative side of things. But he also is not a fan of Nicki Minaj, like 90% of the population. And he said that, I don't think Cardi's going to get blacklisted from anything. And I was shocked because I said, I think she will. I think she will get blacklisted from a lot of events, maybe that are not even fashion-related events. Because the idea is this is work. And this is what I mean by people saying, who cares how she acts in front of these people, in front of white people? It's not about that. This is a job opportunity essentially for you. You are at New York Fashion Week. You are a musician. This is an opportunity for you to link up, to show who you are as a brand, right? And you decide to get kicked out of the party. Now, maybe I could reason with that a little bit if she didn't get completely kicked out. But you had your shoes off. You were getting hurled out of the building by security, okay? A lot of those people at that party may never want to work with you again. And like I said, you may have ruined it for the rest of the people coming up after you. They may say, remember the last time we had some rappers at a party? They tried to fight each other. We're not doing that again. Right? And so I feel like, we'll find out with the weeks to come, but I do think Cardi is going to get blacklisted. Now, this is very interesting. So Cardi was scheduled to be at 2 New York Fashion Week shows, I believe either today or yesterday, and she was a no-show. Now, I think that we're not really going to know why. It could be because they decided not to invite her anymore, or it could be because she has a huge knot on her face. I mean, who's going to want to sit front row with a knot on your face? No one, right? But already that has completely started to ruin these opportunities for you. Now that is press that you're not going to get. These are connections you're not going to make. You know what I mean? Front row at a fashion show is an amazing opportunity. Not a lot of people get that. Rappers, actresses, whatever. Not a lot of people get that unless you're in the fashion industry. But, however, what was released today was that Cardi B has her own lipstick by Tom Ford Beauty. And I thought that was very interesting. Now, you could look at this one or two ways. One, which is the way that I look at it, her team decided to have that information released today to kind of cover up this whole idea of her being blacklisted, to make her look better, to say, it doesn't matter what happens, people still love me. Or it could have been already planned to be released today, maybe in the middle of Fashion Week, etc., etc. But like I said, in the coming weeks and months, we'll see what happens, because I believe that Cardi will be blacklisted. In terms of fashion weeks, I don't think Cardi's going to be welcomed back. I don't care how many other fashion deals she gets. I don't care how many other makeup deals, because it was Tom Ford Beauty, not Tom Ford the clothing brand. You know what I mean? But I don't care how many more deals she gets. I don't think she's going to be welcomed back to Fashion Week again or a fashion party. And I want to talk about it a little bit, kind of about the public's reception of this. And I'd love to know your guys' input as well, because some people are saying that Nicki Minaj was scared. You know, they were saying, how are you going to be so rah-rah, you know, the past few weeks, but you're not trying to fight at this party, you know? They're calling her a pussy, essentially. And with Cardi, people are saying, oh, she's a real one, you know, on site means on site. And to me, it's jarring, honestly, that a lot of people don't really recognize the magnitude, again, of just where these women were. They're at Fashion Week. They're at a Harper's Bazaar party, you know? You're fighting in gowns. Cardi B was wearing Dolce & Gabbana and Nicki Minaj was wearing Vautier. I mean, are we really going to scrap in couture gowns? It's quite ridiculous. You know what I mean? Just the look of it is not a cute one. And so again, it's just jarring to me that so many people are really hyping Cardi B up. They're encouraging this behavior. But again, if Cardi B does get blacklisted, and not just from fashion, because let's be honest, this is a formal work event for them, right? She may not get invited to any more parties, even music parties, right? Especially if Nicki Minaj is there. They may say, oh, you remember the last time we had the two in the room, right? Who's making more money right now? Who has the better pull? And sometimes that may be Cardi, right? But we don't know what this is going to do to her career. I mean, like I said, the coming weeks and the coming months will tell. But this could really ruin a lot of opportunities for Cardi. She could lose endorsement deals that she does have, you know? I mean, I don't think she's going to lose that Mountain Dew commercial or anything. But, you know, she was working with Steve Madden in the past. I don't really keep up with a lot of her deals, but Cardi is popping right now. People love Cardi. And I just can't believe that, you know, you would risk to kind of screw that up. And so, I mean, that's really all I have to say about that situation. Most people know what happened. I think we all have speculations about what's going to come. I just think it wasn't a smart move by Cardi. I think Nicki did the right thing by not trying to fight. I mean, that's ridiculous. You're Nicki Minaj. Why would you fight anyone? And for people to expect her to fight when she pays security is quite hilarious. And I think that Nicki looked fabulous, by the way. I loved that Vautier gown. Alexander Vautier is my favorite designer, so I was so happy to see her in that. Cardi looked okay. I wish her hair was a little bit different. And I'm not really a huge fan of Dolce & Gabbana, but nonetheless, you know, Cardi looked nice. But I'm not going to scrap in Vautier. I'm not going to fight people, you know, when I have security at a Harper's Bazaar Icons party. It's just not going to happen. I'm going to stay till the end of the party, network, you know, chat it up with the CEO of Wilhelmina Models, and leave the party looking great. And that's what Nicki Minaj did, which I think was the smart move. Now, Nicki Minaj does have Queen Radio tomorrow, and I will be tuned in. Depending on what's said and depending on what goes down, maybe I'll chat about it next week if I feel like it's relevant enough or serious enough. But before I completely get off on this topic, I do want to talk about, you know, kind of what does a situation like this, and like I said, even 2 Chainz proposing on the Met Gala carpet, you know, music in general, not just rap music in general, is such an interesting industry because it's one of those industries where anything goes, right? I think most of us have been well aware of how messed up the music industry is. You know, I think, like, perfect example, that whole thing with Kesha and Dr. Luke, not a new phenomenon. You know, people getting robbed out of their contracts, not surprising. Whereas if you look at Hollywood, you know, when all the dirt under there had kind of been uncovered and people have been getting, you know, arrested and accused of assault and rape, and, you know, women finally feeling comfortable to speak out about not getting paid, that's a bit more shocking because Hollywood hides their stuff very well. The music industry is a very rambunctious industry. Anyone who's anyone is admitted as long as it sounds good, as long as it's selling, right? And to have the music industry really be let into the fashion industry is so interesting because, like I said, fashion is a very snooty industry. Fashion is a very elite industry, and fashion is an industry that prides itself on making it very hard to get into. They don't just accept anyone and everyone. And so when you have an industry like fashion, that really thrives on people knowing what's going on, an event like the Met Gala, where the more eyes that's on it, the more popular it becomes, the more people want to go, the more people want to pay money to go, right? You're kind of like stuck with what is there to do, I remember when 2 Chainz proposed to his girlfriend on the red carpet, his girlfriend at the time, his wife now, and I thought it was quite tacky. I thought it was very tacky because this moment isn't about you and your soon-to-be wife. This moment is actually for charity, and even seeing that the Met Gala has become such a big thing on social media. You have all of these people spouting facts that they really don't know. You know what I mean? The Met Gala, the reason why the tickets are so expensive, for example, is because this money goes to raise funds for the Costume Institute. This money is going somewhere. It's a charity event. And, people talking about this fashion that is made by elite designers like a Tom Ford or Margiela or Rei Kawakubo, people speaking on things saying, oh, she looks stupid. She looks like a bird. It's insulting a little bit in my eyes because, again, you're speaking on things you just don't know. And so with the introduction of pop culture into the fashion industry, you really created this sort of vibe and this wave of what is there to do now? You know what I mean? And when situations like a fight happen at a New York Fashion Week party, when people are, making red carpet moments about themselves, it's very interesting. And I wish I was in the industry already so I could know what the people behind the scenes think and what will become the future of fashion. The reason I love fashion, the reason why I want to be in this industry is because respect is automatically, given to those there because it's not easy to be there. And so when you have an industry where the veil, is so thick, none of us really know what's going on unless, again, you're there or you're learning about it. And you just have people, coming in, that have no experience and sometimes no business being there. You get these situations and it's very interesting to see the future of fashion and these parties and events. You know what I mean? I'm very interested to see who will be invited to the Met Gala next year. That's only a few months away. I'm very interested to see the rest of Fashion Week. I mean, Nicki Minaj hasn't been in any more front rows. I mean, it only happened a few days ago, but she's been somewhere almost every day. I haven't seen her at any front row shows. So, I mean, it's very interesting. And I'm very curious again, to what the future of fashion seriously will be. Will we continue to let these pop culture icons into these spaces if they don't know how to act or don't know how to conduct themselves and give respect where respect is due? This is still art. You know what I mean? This is not about you and a place really to just do whatever. I feel like, again, people have so little respect for fashion. People that aren't into the industry, people kind of see fashion as a joke. They think it's stupid. They think it's something that they don't need. And to allow, again, this type of things to go on, I think really brings down the value of the industry to the general public. So that's it for that.